ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שהכל נהיה בדברו. When our ancestors were in the desert, the Torah says that God did not lead them by the shortest way from Egypt to the promised land. That was the goal. You go out of Egypt and you go to a promised land. Of course, there was a stopover at Mount Sinai where they would receive the law, because otherwise they were just a group of slaves. They had to be united by some kind of mission as well. And that was given at Mount Sinai. Why did not God take them by the shortest way? The Bible says, just in case they would see an enemy and would be afraid of it and would return immediately to Egypt. But maybe there was something else also involved. Nowadays, because of the coronavirus, we are conscious of social distancing. What was necessary was that our ancestors be taken away from all sorts of idolatry. In the desert, where there are just some Bedouins or very few people around, they were sort of free from any influence of idolatry. And that was very important. As a matter of fact, maybe many of our laws also have to do with social distancing. You know, the laws of kashrut, that we have to eat just certain foods and we cannot eat together with everybody else, is a question also of social distancing, maybe, so that we should not be influenced by outside thoughts. And years ago, it was a question of idolatry. Today, it is no longer a question of idolatry, but there are other influences as well. And if we want to be loyal to our own principles, we have to sort of remain united and have some kind of separation from outside influences. Maybe that is also the reason for wine. Years ago, it was because wine was used for religious services. Today, that was called yayin nesech. But today, we still don't drink the same wine, maybe also in order to have practice some kind of social distancing. Because outside influences, many a time, change your own way of thinking. But there was something else. And that I want to emphasize especially. It says in the Torah that the Jews, when they left Egypt, soon enough were persecuted by the Egyptians, and they were in front of the Red Sea and the Egyptian army following them, and they were desperate. So they prayed to God. Why did God put them in such a situation? Because the Torah says that God even hardened the heart of Pharaoh to follow them, to run after them. Why did he put him in such a situation with the sea on one side and the army of the Egyptians on the other? It was a no-win situation. So what did our ancestors do? They prayed. Now, I want to ask you something. Is the prayer that you say every morning the same as far as intensity and feeling is, that when you find yourself in a very dire situation, like our ancestors, when they found themselves persecuted by the Egyptians, their prayer was altogether different from what a usual prayer is. There was much more sincerity, much more feeling. They were much truer to themselves at the moment when they realized that they were in a situation that only God could solve their problem. I think what our tradition is trying to teach us is that we have inner strengths that maybe come to the fore only when there are dire situations, when there are extreme situations. However, if we know that they exist, maybe we should use them more and more. On the one hand, we have the social distancing because we are afraid of some influences from the outside. But maybe what is more important is the inner strength that we really have. We think that we can accomplish so much and so much, yet when the situation requires greater efforts, suddenly we get a boost of energy and are able to solve things. You know, there are many people that study normally, yet when they have a test and they have a few hours, they study with much greater intensity, absorb much more. They realize that what they are studying, they need tomorrow in order to overcome something. Maybe if we would be conscious of this fact that every day is some kind of test for us, and that we have to do our best, would certainly improve human condition. I think that those people that are persecuted because of racism and what have you, on the one hand, there are external forces. You know, there's external discrimination, and they have to fight against that. It, in a sense, is the same idea of this social distancing, because the influences from outside. But I think what these people also have to take into account is their inner strength, that many of the problems can be solved by themselves. In the long run, I think that man has to remember that he is responsible for his own actions, and there is no limit to what he can do if he makes up his mind to do it and tries to accomplish it.